In today's emotional courtroom drama, a simple paternity test turns into a heartbreaking storm of betrayal, guilt, and decades of unanswered questions.
Griffin, you were a married man who had a 2-year affair with your wife's stepsister, the defendant.
A woman claims her sister's husband might be her child's father, and for 30 years, one man believed that little girl was his daughter.
You say that relationship produced a daughter, but Ms. Richmond claims you are not her daughter's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
But in paternity court, truth always finds its way to the surface. Imagine discovering that the man you called uncle might actually be your father. Imagine living 30 years believing a lie, and then having it shattered in front of millions. This is the unbelievable case of Griffin versus Richmond, where family bonds, forbidden love, and hidden DNA collide in a courtroom that demands nothing but the truth. Stay until the end, because the final DNA results change everything. The case begins when family lines blur. The courtroom doors open, and tension fills the air. Judge Lauren Lake takes her seat, calm, authoritative, but ready to dig deep. Before her stands Mr. Griffin, a married man who admits he had a 2-year affair with his wife's own sister, Mrs. Richmond. The shocking twist? That affair may have produced a daughter named Tikia. Griffin claims he's certain the child is his. He's believed it for 30 long years. But Mrs. Richmond stands firm. She says no way. She insists Mr. Griffin is not her daughter's biological father. Judge Lake looks across the courtroom and asks the question on everyone's mind. How does a man end up sleeping with his wife's sister? The silence is deafening. Mrs. Richmond whispers, not thinking. Just being wild. It's the beginning of a family story that will test love, loyalty, and truth itself. A forbidden affair, it was an honest mistake. The courtroom gasps when Mr. Griffin admits the affair lasted 2 years. 2 years of secrecy. 2 years of lies. When Judge Lake presses him, his excuse feels weak. It was an honest mistake, Your Honor. But Judge Lake fires back with brutal honesty. Sleeping with your wife's sister is not a mistake, it's a decision. The audience murmurs, and the weight of that truth hits hard. For 2 years, Griffin was living a double life, husband at home, lover in secret. And worse, neither used protection. Mrs. Richmond says Griffin would drive her home after family visits, and those rides turned into temptation. He was there. I was young. I thought it was love, she confesses. Judge Lake shakes her head, disappointed. This was all in the family, she sighs. And indeed, it was, a family bond twisted by betrayal. The baby and the secret. When Mrs. Richmond gave birth, she claimed Mr. Griffin was the father. She says he came over, picked the baby up, held her up to the light, and said, "Yeah, she could be mine." But that was the last serious conversation they ever had about the child. After that day, Griffin disappeared from the picture, never checking in, never calling, never helping. For 30 years, he believed she was his daughter, but he never tried to be her father. Mrs. Richmond admits she was also involved with 2 other men during that time. Yet she never told them about the pregnancy, only Griffin. Why? Because deep down, she thought he was the one. But in paternity cases, thinking isn't enough. Proof is everything. A daughter without a father. Enter Tikia Richmond, now a grown woman, standing in court to find out who she really is. She's spent her entire life without a father figure, raised by confusion and whispers. She tells Judge Lake, "When people asked me who my dad was, I always said, I don't have one. My mom never told me a name." Imagine living decades feeling disconnected, hearing rumors that the man who might be your father is your aunt's husband. When she was a child, her cousins told her, "You look just like the Griffins." But her mom always denied it. That kind of emotional wound doesn't fade. Tikia's voice shakes as she says, "It's sad. I always had to hear stupid stories about some old 70s love triangle. Judge Lake nods with compassion. Your family are your links, your puzzle pieces. Without them, it's hard to know who you are. The MySpace message that changed everything. Years later, in the age of social media, fate took an unexpected turn. While scrolling through MySpace, Tikia received a message, a long emotional note from a woman named Lakeisha. It began, "I think you're my sister." At first, Tikia thought it was a prank. She had never heard of Lakeisha before. But this message opened the door to buried truths. Lakeisha explains in court how she discovered Tikia's name. She found child support letters with Tikia's name in her father's room, Mr. Griffin's room. Her curiosity took over. She searched Tikia online and sent the message that would reconnect a family divided by decades of secrets. Judge Lake leans in. "So you reached out, and that's how this all began?" "Yes, Your Honor," Lakeisha says softly. And with that, the past begins to unravel. The DNA results, the moment of truth. The air becomes thick. Everyone in the room holds their breath as Judge Lake opens the envelope. "These results," she says, "were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and read as follows." The silence stretches. Tikia's hands tremble. Griffin bows his head. In the case of Griffin versus Richmond, when it comes to 32-year-old Tikia Richmond, Griffin whispers under his breath, "30 years I've been knowing she's my daughter." Judge Lake looks up from the paper, her voice firm yet sympathetic. "Mr. Griffin, you are not her father." Gasps echo through the courtroom. 30 years of belief, shattered in a single sentence. Tikia's eyes fill with tears, but she stays strong. Griffin looks heartbroken. "Then I'll help her find who is," he says softly. It's a bittersweet promise, but one that brings closure at last. Lessons from the courtroom, truth, healing, and redemption. This episode wasn't just about finding a biological father, it was about reclaiming identity. It showed that truth, no matter how painful, is always better than living with lies. Mrs. Richmond faced her past. Mr. Griffin faced his guilt. And Tikia faced the truth, bravely, openly, and with dignity. Judge Lake often says, paternity isn't just about DNA. It's about healing generations. And that's exactly what happened here. Sometimes, families break before they can rebuild. Sometimes, forgiveness starts with heartbreak. And sometimes, finding out who isn't your father helps you finally find yourself. If this story moved you, if you believe truth and love should always win over secrets and shame, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful courtroom stories from Paternity Court and beyond. Comment below, do you think Mr. Griffin was right to believe she was his daughter for so long? Have you ever witnessed a family torn apart by secrets? Your voice matters.